The sun bathed Cancun in a deceptive glow on April 8, 2010, as the Moon Palace Resort buzzed with laughter and celebration. Guests clinked glasses, oblivious to the horror lurking beneath their feet. Just 260 feet from the festivities, the air turned heavy with tension as police cordoned off a concrete hatch, revealing the darkest secret: a lifeless body hidden within a sewage tank. Monica Burgos's birthday, once a beacon of joy, morphed into a scene of chilling discovery. As her husband, Bruce Beresford Redmond, watched the grim excavation, a veil of suspicion began to shroud the opulent resort, unraveling the facade of a perfect getaway. An air of casualness that felt jarringly out of place given the circumstances. He wandered through the sprawling grounds of the Moon Palace Resort, a paradox of serene beauty and the undercurrent of growing dread. The gleaming pools shimmered under the tropical sun, echoing with the laughter of children and the soft strumming of a nearby guitar, all of which felt like a cruel mockery of what had just transpired. Meanwhile, Bruce's eyes darted around, his expression betraying a cocktail of worry and something darker, something that hinted at the unraveling of a carefully constructed facade. The roar of ocean waves crashing against the shore was drowned out by the police sirens that sliced through the balmy air like a knife. As officers swarmed to the scene, Bruce stood on the periphery, an unwitting participant in a drama that would unravel the threads of his life. The very resort that had promised sun-soaked bliss had transformed overnight into a stage for tragedy. He watched the officers work methodically, their movements precise and deliberate as they unearthed the horrors buried beneath the surface. Each scoop of dirt and debris transferred from the tank to the ground felt like another piece of the puzzle snapping into place, each piece more damning than the last. Monica Burgos, a vibrant woman on the cusp of her 40s, was reduced to a lifeless body, her dreams and desires extinguished like a candle snuffed out too soon. The marks on her neck and the deep wound on her temple whispered tales of a struggle, a confrontation that had escalated beyond the realm of reason. As the forensic specialists continued their grim work, Bruce's mind raced back to the morning of April 5th, the last time he had seen her alive. The memory played out like a film reel, each scene etched with layers of regret and uncertainty. He recalled the light in her eyes as they discussed their plans for her birthday. Monica had exuded excitement, looking forward to shopping and pampering herself at the resort spa. Yet, there was an undercurrent of tension in their relationship that he had chosen to ignore. Recent months had seen their marriage tested by infidelity rumors and public scrutiny. But that morning, as they shared breakfast, all he could focus on was the woman who had stood by him through thick and thin. Now, she was gone, and with her disappearance, the cracks in their relationship had widened into chasms. As detectives delved into the timelines and alibis, Bruce found himself thrust into a labyrinth of suspicion. The absence of Monica's personal items, her phone, passport, and keys, became a glaring contradiction, a detail that hung over his head like a storm cloud. How could a woman go shopping without her identification? The surveillance footage sealed his fate further, showing no trace of Monica after she had left their room. Instead, it captured Bruce's movements, a stark juxtaposition to the silence surrounding his wife's fate. The resort staff's whispers and the clicking of cameras seemed to follow him like shadows, each question echoing in his mind as he grappled with the overwhelming reality that he was now the prime suspect in a homicide investigation. What had started as a celebration of love had spiraled into a nightmare. And as the sun set over Cancun, casting a golden hue across the sky, Bruce Beresford Redmond found himself standing at the precipice of despair, with every moment weighing him down like the heavy darkness of the tank that had concealed his wife's final breath. His life was about to be dissected on the world stage, a tragic tale of love lost, betrayal, and an unspeakable act that would haunt him and the lives intertwined with theirs forever. Well, ding to the intimate space of room 783, a place once infused with laughter and the promise of a shared future, now stood eerily still, suffused with a creeping dread. The walls, usually bustling with the sounds of familial joy, had become passive witnesses to a hidden violence. Bruce Beresford Redmond lingered outside on the balcony, the salty breezes of Cancun brushing against his skin, contrasting sharply with the chill that had settled in his chest. He recalled every second spent in this tropical paradise, where the bright colors of the surroundings had once invigorated his spirit. Yet, the vibrant hues seemed to fade into muted tones, as if nature itself sensed the tragedy that loomed. He could almost hear the echoes of laughter, his children's voices mingling with Monica's melodic hum as they planned their days together, now haunting remnants of a past that felt increasingly foreign. The sun dipped beneath the horizon, casting dark shadows that clawed at the edges of his consciousness. He turned to face the room, the door a barrier between him and the unknown. Though he had only stepped outside for a moment, the weight of those fleeting minutes loomed over him like a tempest, threatening to engulf him whole. Glancing at the maintenance area, Bruce's heart raced as he imagined the grim discovery made by the resort staff, the finality of the police investigation looming like a specter in the periphery of his mind. With each click of the camera shutters that captured his every move, the world outside transformed into a living gallery of suspicion and intrigue. The glint of eyes within the resort, trained on him, seemed to peel away layers of his facade, leaving him exposed and vulnerable. The whispers of fellow guests morphed into a chorus of accusations, each syllable a dagger, puncturing the heart of his grief. He could almost feel the weight of their judgment pressing against him, suffocating him under the unbearable scrutiny of a world that had turned against him. As investigators sifted through the evidence, the lock system's silent testimony and the damning camera footage, Bruce's mind spiraled into dark corners. He replayed the events of that morning, frantically searching for a thread of truth that had unraveled into chaos. The sounds of crashing furniture and a woman's screams haunted him, echoing in the recesses of his mind. He had dismissed them as mere background noise, the playful antics of his children, but those distant recollections now morphed into accusations, a soundtrack of terror against which he stood defenseless. In that moment, Bruce felt the walls closing in, his sanctuary transformed into a prison. The sudden quiet that had enveloped the room after the concierge's visit felt like an omen, a prelude to the catastrophic end of all he held dear. The silence that followed the screams offered no solace, only a chilling reminder of the horrors that had unfolded just beyond reach. His memories became fragmented images, slipping through his fingers like grains of sand. The laughter of his children was now replaced by the gnawing realization that he had become a man adrift, ensnared in a web of unthinkable actions. Had he really been the contented husband the world saw, or was he the architect of a tragedy that would echo through time, forever altering the course of countless lives? As he fought against the swell of despair, Bruce knew that every second stretched painfully, each heartbeat a reminder of his fractured existence. He was trapped within a narrative that shifted like sand beneath his feet, transforming a story of love into a dark saga of grief, guilt, and betrayal. The very air felt thick with foreboding, every breath a labor as he awaited the inevitable unraveling of his fate. The truth loomed, heavy and unyielding, whispering promises of redemption, yet tinged with the despair of irrevocable loss. The night deepened, and with it, the specter of Monica's absence, leaving behind a chilling reminder that some stories are woven with threads of darkness, destined to haunt the souls of those left to carry their weight. The weight of betrayal. Monica's spirit had begun to fray, a tapestry of trust unraveling thread by thread. The news of her husband's infidelity, laid bare through messages that dripped with longing and whispered promises, had ignited a firestorm of anguish within her. Each word she read sliced deeper than the last, revealing a future that Bruce envisioned without her. As she stood in the dim light of their opulent kitchen, the unmade meals and scattered children's toys around her seemed to scream the echoes of a life once vibrant, now dulled under the weight of her heartbreak. The morning after discovering her husband's betrayal, she had taken stock of her life with a chilling clarity. Every object in the house, every picture frame and piece of furniture, felt like a ghost haunted by memories of the past. In a desperate bid for control, she emptied the safe that once held a semblance of security. Important documents, each a token of her commitment to a family she fought for, were now her lifeline. With trembling hands, she organized her children's birth certificates and bank papers, knowing full well that the fight for her future was imminent. But Bruce had a plan too, and it was one cloaked in the guise of reconciliation. His suggestion for a vacation to Cancun was painted with the brushstrokes of a desperate hope, or perhaps something darker. To an outside observer, the spontaneous trip seemed like a last-ditch effort to repair their fractured marriage. However, investigators would later delve deeper, uncovering the layers of manipulation that lay underneath. Bruce's timely changes to their travel plans raised eyebrows, especially when it became apparent that he had orchestrated everything. The destination, the accommodations at the lavish Moon Palace Resort, and even the purchase of life insurance policies for both of them, a detail that would hang heavily over the investigation like a storm cloud. As the couple arrived at the resort, it became a stage set for the tragedy that would soon unfold. The glistening beaches of Cancun, which should have been filled with laughter and warmth, instead bore witness to the smothering tension that hung in the air. A vacation meant to mend their relationship was marred by the weight of unspoken accusations and buried resentment. Each meal shared was a battleground. Every interaction, a silent war. Monica's heart grew heavier as she watched Bruce, who wore the mask of a loving husband, but whose thoughts were likely drifting to Joy Pierce, the woman whose name had become synonymous with betrayal. Bruce was a man trapped in his own web of deceit, every moment spent with Monica a reminder of a life he sought to escape. The more he pushed for reconciliation, the more Monica sensed the hollowness of his intentions. While she tried to bridge the chasm that had formed between them, Bruce calculated his next move. Each tender gesture felt rehearsed, each loving word a line delivered with the precision of a seasoned actor. The contrast between their once passionate connection and the icy distance created a palpable tension that crackled beneath the surface. In the shadows of the resort, where palm fronds whispered secrets and the ocean roared, the couple's conflict reached an apex. Monica, feeling cornered, confronted Bruce with her findings, his emails, his lies, the insurance policies he'd hastily arranged. The confrontation was raw and volatile, a moment suspended in time that would spiral into chaos. Bruce's response was a defensive rage, revealing the truth beneath his carefully crafted facade. That night, the air was thick with unresolved feelings, their arguments blending with the sounds of distant waves crashing against the shore. As Monica lay in bed, her heart raced with the weight of her decisions. Did she have the courage to walk away? The fear of the unknown gripped her fiercely, while the quiet voice of intuition urged her to seek safety. In the darkness, she clutched at her phone, contemplating a call to her sisters, a lifeline amid the encroaching storm. But the past haunted her, the life she had built, the children they had created, the love she once felt. Could it all be lost in the tumult of a single choice? The night stretched on, a relentless reminder of the fragile thread that tethered her to life as she knew it, and the harrowing truth that loomed ever closer, waiting to strike. Footage that chronicled life behind bars. It was an audacious attempt to manipulate his narrative, a self-serving endeavor that stirred both intrigue and outrage among the public. But within the prison's concrete walls, a more profound drama unfolded, one that hinted at the darker recesses of the human psyche. Motives, often shrouded in the fog of emotion and desperation, became the very fabric of Bruce's reality. His life, once glittering with the sheen of Hollywood success, had frayed around the edges, revealing a man who was not merely a filmmaker, but a father, a husband, and a figure embroiled in a tumultuous marriage. When Monica had first met Bruce, she had been captivated by his charm and ambition, drawn into the whirlwind of his cinematic world. Yet with the passage of time, that charm morphed into something she could no longer recognize. What had once felt like love became entangled with the suffocating weight of betrayal, of whispered secrets, and unanswered questions. As Bruce languished in his cell, his mind swirled with the tumultuous emotions of regret and defiance. He painted a narrative of victimhood, insisting that he was the scapegoat in a grand conspiracy, a narrative that allowed him to navigate the storm of accusations without confronting the reality of his own failings. Within the prison's stark loneliness, he became obsessed with the thought of reclaiming his life, even if it meant confronting the darkness that simmered just beneath the surface. But what of Monica? Her motives were equally complex, interwoven with fear and a desperate need for closure. Each court appearance, each article chronicling Bruce's alleged crimes, felt like a wound that refused to heal. She was thrust into a spotlight she never asked for, forced to navigate the emotional fallout of a relationship that had spiraled into chaos. The love they had nurtured was now diluted by suspicion. Every memory felt tainted with a sense of betrayal. The court hearings became a cruel reminder of a life she longed to escape, yet couldn't fully abandon. In the shadows of the courtroom, Monica's thoughts danced between love and resentment, a tug-of-war of emotions that left her feeling hollow, yet fiercely determined. She attended each hearing, her heart split between loyalty to a man she once adored and the overwhelming need for justice for a life extinguished too soon. The family of the victim became silent companions in her grief, their shared pain deepening the chasm within her heart. It was a strange kinship born of tragedy. They were all unwilling participants in a story that would forever bind them. Motives in this labyrinth of human emotion morphed and twisted, revealing layers of complexity that defied easy explanation. For Bruce, it was a battle for self-preservation, a quest to prove his innocence while grappling with the demons of his choices. For Monica, it was about reclaiming her narrative, asserting her strength, and ensuring that the truth would not be buried under the weight of a glamorous facade. As the trial loomed closer, both were poised at a precipice, staring into the abyss of their fractured lives. The outcome would not only determine their futures, but would serve as a haunting reminder of all that had been lost. A life, a family, a love that once flourished, now overshadowed by shadows of doubt and unspoken truths. The mysteries of their motives intertwined like the vines of a once grand estate, growing wild, threatening to choke out the clarity they desperately sought. In that tangled web, each thread told a story, a silent testament to the heartbreak, betrayal, and the relentless quest for redemption. Ed states, a palpable tension hung in the air, a ghostly reminder of the life he once led and the darkness he had embraced. The trial had cast a long shadow over those who remained, and the echoes of Monica's name were a haunting refrain that lingered in every corner of the courtroom. As the proceedings unfolded, the stark contrast between the life Monica lived and the monstrous betrayal that led to her demise was laid bare for all to see. Each witness, each piece of evidence, turned the courtroom into a theater of despair, with a collective heartache of a family and a community laid bare the raw scars of loss and betrayal. Monica's family, clad in somber hues, often exchanged glances filled with unspoken pain, an agony too profound to articulate. They clung to one another, a fragile fortress against the unfathomable tragedy that had engulfed them. The day of the verdict arrived with the weight of anticipation. The air was thick, almost suffocating, as the jury returned to their seats. Every heart was a ticking clock, each second stretching into eternity. When the foreman stood, his voice steady yet somber, the world outside faded, and for a moment, time stood still. The words that followed, guilty of manslaughter, echoed against the walls, a bittersweet culmination of justice, served yet tinted with the stark recognition that it would never bring Monica back. The family erupted, a mixture of relief and anger, the former tempered by the realization that the sentence was far too lenient for the life that had been so brutally extinguished. As the gavel struck, sealing Bruce's fate, a cacophony of emotions surged through the courtroom. Monica's family, who had endured the agonizing trail of grief and injustice, felt a tumult of emotions intertwining. Bittersweet victory laced with the sorrow of an irreplaceable loss. Yet in the depths of their despair, they felt a flicker of resilience igniting their spirits. They had not only fought for Monica's story to be told, but had also reclaimed a semblance of strength in the face of overwhelming odds. Bruce, on the other hand, wore an expression of grim resignation. He had meticulously crafted his defense, weaving a narrative that sought to elicit pity rather than condemnation. However, what remained undeniable was the undeniable truth of his actions. Each calculated move, each chilling detail of the crime, painted a portrait of a man who had once loved but had allowed betrayal to fester into something dark and unforgiving. As the trial concluded, the whispers of appeal began to circulate, a cold reminder that justice, however imperfect, was still a fragile construct. Bruce's defense team, emboldened by the court's leniency, prepared to launch an appeal seeking to overturn the very justice that had been so painstakingly fought for. Anger surged through the hearts of Monica's family members, their anguish evolving into a relentless determination to ensure that the memory of their beloved Monica would not be tarnished by the machinations of a legal system that too often favored the powerful. Months turned into years, and yet the struggle for justice continued, reverberating through the lives of those left behind. The fight for Monica's truth became a beacon of hope for others ensnared in similar tragedies, a reminder that even in darkness, the human spirit could illuminate the path forward. Each anniversary of her death became a sacred moment of remembrance, where the family would gather, lighting candles and sharing stories, ensuring that Monica's memory would forever be a testament to love, resilience, and the unyielding pursuit of justice. A story scripted not in the annals of crime, but in the hearts of those who dared to fight for the truth. Ed states, Bruce's freedom underscored a haunting reality, a murderer walking among us, cloaked in an illusion of normalcy. Monica's family, still grappling with their loss, vowed to keep her spirit alive, fiercely advocating for justice. Their love transformed grief into a relentless pursuit, ensuring that Monica's truth would never fade into silence.